Hi, I'm Erica.
And I'm Sam. Welcome to our podcast.
This podcast is for you to practice your English listening skills. Sam, our last episode, we talked about time sucks. And I need to admit that one of my time sucks these days is TikTok.
Yeah, it's interesting how during that podcast, you didn't mention anything about having your own time suck. You just let me talk about my wasting time. But now the truth comes out.
The truth comes out in this episode. Mm-hmm. That is true.
Okay, tell us about your time suck.
My time suck. TikTok, I love it. It's a great app. The algorithm gives you the most just like interesting. It just knows what you want to watch, which is creepy. And it has it's like a slot machine. Like you can just keep pulling, like slot machines. You pull this, you swipe, and it's just like, wow, that one was good. I got to see what's next.
You want another hit of dopamine.
Another hit of dopamine. You're like, that one was okay. I need to end on a good one, And and it's so hard to just like put it away.
So you said it yourself. It's like it knows you.
Exactly.
Which is part of the problem and part of why it is currently being discussed to be banned in the US.
Right. So there are many theories as to the real reason the US government wants to ban TikTok. So ban means to block, to make it illegal. The government's reason they're saying is that TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company, and they're worried about China's, the government, spying on U.S. citizens or using their data or spying on any part of the U.S. life.
Which, you just said in your own words, it's like the app knows you. Obviously, it has gathered some data about you. We don't know if it's very crucial data, very important information or not, but that is something that the app and therefore the company knows about you and can save and possibly use at a further date. But
absolutely. Although other apps do the same thing, right?
Right, of course.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah. But what we think is interesting about this situation is it reminds us of a refrain that is the pot calling the kettle black. So the US has criticized China in the past about its censorship laws. In China, you don't have as much free access to the internet. There are certain websites, right? Applications that are blocked or banned.
Yeah, almost everything's blocked. Yes.
So there's a limited amount of information that you have access to in China. And now the US is contemplating or trying to put in action a similar sort of censorship. So the expression, the pot calling the kettle black, talks about hypocrisy, right? The pot is saying, hey, you are so black to the kettle, but the pot is also black, a pot like a cooking pot.
Right. So the U.S., most of its history has been so proud of being free speech all the way. You can say whatever you want. They're not going to censor or block anything, which is not true in our history. We have censored many things. But yeah, especially criticizing China during the past few decades for controlling what people can see and what apps they can use. And now the U.S. is doing the exact same thing.
The exact same thing. So that's a fun idiom you can use if someone is saying something about you that is also true about them. You can say, wow, that's the pot calling the kettle black.
One aside, if you are enjoying this podcast, consider becoming a patron on our Patreon.
Or just check out our Patreon page. We have some cool stuff for you. You can become a follower without paying anything. And we're going to start loading a lot more cool extras there. So go check it out. Another term that comes to mind when speaking about China and the US, frenemies.
I love this word.
What's a frenemy, Erica?
So it's not a real word, but it is combining friend and enemy. So it's really fun. And to me, it's a relationship where there's usually competition involved. There's kind of a dependence on the other. So the US is very dependent on China, especially, well, for many reasons. And China is incredibly dependent on the US, mostly to sell their consumer goods. But there has been this tension the whole time, the whole relationship, this back and forth. So it's not like they can just not have a relationship, the US and China. They're very dependent on each other. But as countries, as governments, they're incredibly different approaches. They criticize each other all the time, but they're very entangled. So we can't really disentangle.
Right. And they're neither 100% friends, nor are they 100% enemies. They're a mix of the two. And I think probably everyone has a frenemy in their life, right? Frequently, we might have frenemies at work. So if you work with someone who you have a good relationship with in general, maybe you're very, they're a nice person, you're friends, you maybe even go for drinks after work, there's camaraderie, but maybe there's a little bit of competition as well. Maybe they get a raise and you don't, or they get recognition for something and you don't. So you're sort of like, oh, I hate them, but they're my friend, but I hate them. That's sort of a classic frenemy situation.
Absolutely. All right. So let us know, do you have a frenemy in your life? Or can you think of examples of frenemies from books or movies? So let us know in the comments.
Tag your frenemy.
That'd be a frenemy move for sure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye. 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 This has been NPR. Thank you for listening.